Have you ever walked through the busy streets of Lagos and seen a little girl balancing a tree of bananas, surrounded by fried groundnuts on her head, calling out to strangers with a smile that hides 1,000 untold stories? This is the story of Priscilla, a 15-year-old orphan whose courage and determination turned hardship into hope. Her story is not just her own. It is the story of many young girls who fight silently to rise above poverty and pain, to find their light even in the darkest corners of life.
The sun had barely risen when Priscilla wore her faded yellow dress, lifted her tray of ripe bananas, and stepped into the noisy streets of Ojuelegba. Buy banana, fine banana, sweet banana. Her voice floated above the blaring horns, rumbling engines, and shouting conductors. She was only 15, yet her eyes carried the weight of someone much older. Priscilla had lost both parents when she was 8. Since then, she lived with Madame Agnes, her late mother's cousin, a woman with a loud voice and a heavy hand. Every day, Priscilla hawked from morning till night. If she didn't sell enough, Madame Agnes would call her lazy daughter of cursed parents. Sometimes she was denied food, and on bad days, she was beaten until Madame Agnes's husband, Mr. Mark, stepped in to stop her.
But even in that harsh world, Priscilla had a dream. Every morning, as she passed by Queen's College, she would pause and watch the girls in their clean, well-ironed uniforms walk happily into school. They looked so full of promise, so free. She would whisper softly, "One day, I'll go to school. One day, I'll wear a uniform too." Mr. Mark had pleaded many times, "Agnes, please, let's put the girl in school. She deserves a chance." But Madame Agnes would snap, "School? For her? Children like Priscilla belong to the streets. She should be grateful we gave her a roof. You won't have rubbing shoulders with my children. Never." And so, the young girl's only classroom became the streets of Lagos. It all began one quiet afternoon. Priscilla met Uncle Martins, a kind bookseller near the market. He often noticed her sitting quietly by his stall whenever she got tired. One day, he asked, "Priscilla, do you like to read?" She nodded shyly. He smiled and handed her an old torn storybook. "You can read this when you rest," he said kindly. That small gesture opened a big door in her heart. Every few days, after selling bananas, Priscilla would return to buy more storybooks, using the few naira notes she saved in an old milk tin under her bed. Her fellow hawkers teased her endlessly. "You no go buy fine slippers or earrings? Na book you go chop?" But Priscilla would smile and say, "One day, these books will take me somewhere better." Each story she read gave her a new reason to dream, even when life around her stayed the same. But the streets were not kind to girls like Priscilla. Men twice her age would whistle at her. Some would hold her hand too long when buying bananas. Others would whisper, "Come with me, small girl, I can make you rich." She had seen other girls disappear, tricked by such promises. But Priscilla was smart. She remembered something her mother once told her before she died. "My daughter, no matter what happens, hold your dignity tight. It is your crown." Those words became her shield. She learned to walk faster, to say no firmly, to stay away from dark corners. Among the chaos was one kind soul, Mama Chica, a food seller who often gave Priscilla leftover rice. "My child," she would say, "this world can be wicked, but God sees your struggle. Keep your heart clean." Still, some nights, Priscilla cried quietly into her pillow, wondering why life is so hard for her. One hot afternoon, Priscilla stopped by Uncle Martin's bookstore to buy a new storybook. Her hands clutched a few crumpled naira notes, her week's savings. Books were her escape, her little window into a better world. As she turned the pages of a one-story book, a gentle voice behind her asked, "You like reading, young lady?" Priscilla turned around shyly. It was Mrs. Magrete, a teacher from a community evening school for underprivileged children. She had come to buy exercise books for her students. "Yes, ma," Priscilla replied softly. "I love reading stories." Mrs. Magrete looked at her dusty feet, her torn slippers, and the tray of bananas near the door. "That's wonderful," she said. "So, which school do you attend?" Priscilla froze. Her lips trembled, but no words came.
Uncle Martin spoke up gently. "Madam, this girl hasn't been to school for 7 years. Yet, she saves her hawking money to buy books. She even reads old newspapers I throw away." Mrs. Magrete was deeply moved. She decided to visit Madame Agnes to plead for Priscilla's enrollment. The next day, she went to their home. "If money is the problem," she said calmly, "please allow me to enroll her at the community school. This girl is special. She deserves a chance." Reluctantly, Madame Agnes agreed, staring coldly at Priscilla. A week later, Priscilla was enrolled. That first day, she wore her donated school uniform with pride, slightly oversized, but perfect in her eyes. By day, she hawked bananas under the scorching sun. By evening, she walked to school with her head held high, carrying her dreams in a small nylon bag and her heart full of hope. For the first time in her life, the world didn't feel so cruel. She was finally walking toward her future. Life didn't suddenly become easy. Madame Agnes still shouted and took most of her earnings, but Priscilla refused to give up. She studied harder, slept less, and prayed more. Sometimes, walking home under the street lights, she whispered, I'll make it, no matter what." Her teachers noticed her dedication. She passed one exam after another, top of her class every time. At 19, her hard work paid off. She earned a scholarship from a charity that supported underprivileged girls. When she got the news, she ran to the market shouting for joy. Mama Chika hugged her tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. "My daughter, I told you your star would shine one day." Years passed. The little banana seller became Priscilla the graduate, the first in her family to wear a graduation gown. Her smile that day could light up the whole of Lagos. She walked proudly across the stage as cameras flashed and cheers filled the air. At the back of the hall sat Madame Agnes, quietly watching. When the ceremony ended, Priscilla walked up to her, knelt, and said gently, "Thank you for everything. Even the hard days, they made me strong." For the first time in years, Madame Agnes cried. She whispered, "Forgive me, my child. I didn't know you would make it this far." Priscilla never forgot where she came from. She started a small foundation for street girls, teaching them to read, learn trades, and believe in themselves. Her foundation grew, changing many lives, especially for the little girls who once felt invisible.
Priscilla's story reminds us that strength can grow in the hardest places. It teaches us that every girl, no matter her background, deserves a chance to dream, to learn, and to rise. So, when you walk through Lagos and see a young girl with a tray on her head and hope in her eyes, remember Priscilla, because her story could be theirs, and her courage could light the way for others.